As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork you will not get anywhere else. Getting comfortable behind the camera, all right? Getting comfortable behind the camera. Incredibly important aspect to this world that we are currently living in it, that you are behind the camera, whether you want to be an influencer, whether you want to be a YouTuber, whether you want to be someone that's on social media like that, or whatever it is. Regardless, if you want to be private, if you want to have kind of a private, well, in truth, if you really go deeper into it, you've always been behind the camera. Always been, there's always something, there's always a conscious when it comes to people or you looking at yourself. There's always kind of a mirror that you have. It's called your conscience. And there's always been things that, you know, you are feeling inside of you and where somebody's watching you, even when you're by yourself, right? So today's Move Swiftly thought, I know I got kind of feeling some of my philosophy background kind of started kicking in there. But today's Move Swiftly thought is all about getting comfortable speaking in front of a camera, getting comfortable giving your thoughts, giving your opinions, regardless of how popular or unpopular they may be, regardless of how many views they're going to be getting or likes or anything like that. Today is all about developing and understanding the importance and how to get comfortable behind the camera. And I got to tell you, the first step that you need to take when it comes to getting comfortable behind camera and speaking and not being nervous and all that kind of stuff. Now, I will stop there real quick, because you're always going to be nervous. The butterflies are always going to be there regardless whenever it's time to speak publicly, no matter how long you've been doing it. However, the comfort level will rise the more and more you do it, all right? So in regards to how to do it, the main thing, if you take anything away from today's Move Swiftly thought, make sure you take this away. The first thing that you need to do is you need to get to be evaluated, all right? You need to be evaluated by seasoned speakers, people who have been in the game, got some skin in the game, and you can go out like me. You can give them a microphone, tell them to go say something, and then they'll go speak publicly, and it'll seem like they've been doing it for years. It'll seem like they just do it so effortlessly, regardless if they miss a word, if they forget something, they know how to just simply keep going, keep rolling. The seasoned speakers, you need to get evaluated. Excuse me. You need to get evaluated by those folks, and I'll give you an example in my own life. So it's about now around 7 years ago now, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. It was like right before COVID. So yeah, about 5 years ago now. I was going to Toastmasters every Saturday. Every Saturday I was going to Toastmasters at this place called Universal Truth Center in Miami Gardens. And I went there because I wanted to develop as a public speaker, and I wanted to, just kind of see what it was all about. Something I had actually found off Eventbrite, right? So I remember giving two speeches, one when I first started, and then the other one when I was I had already given a few speeches before I gave my icebreaker speech and all that kind of stuff, right? So as I was going through the process, there was the president, and then there was a guy named Jonathan Spikes, who has actually been on this show. Shout out to Jonathan Spikes. The title of his episode is Affirming Youth, because he has a youth center out in Miami, right? So anyway, I remember reading when I gave a speech. So how it works is you give a speech, and then they give you an evaluation of how you did, what your strengths were, what your weaknesses were, all that kind of stuff. So I remember I gave a speech early on in my Toastmasters journey, and I remember after Jonathan had pulled me aside, after the whole meeting had gone on, we closed the meeting and all that kind of stuff. I remember he pulled me aside, and then he had me, he literally walked me up to the stage, and he said, "Look at how much time you left on this speech, because they usually give you 6 minutes." He goes, "Look, that means I think there was still maybe a minute and a half, close to 2 minutes left on the speech." He goes, "That means you left the whole 2 minutes right there on the stage where you could have slowed down, where you could have let your audience take in the moment, take in everything you were saying. You could have threw in a little joke there. You can threw in some of your personality. You could have really connected with your audience, as opposed to what you did, which was rushing and, maybe not being as comfortable being up there and speaking on some topics, you need to develop that. And then he also said those butterflies, just like I just told you before, those butterflies and those nerves, they're never going to go anywhere. You're always going to have that nervous energy before you go and speak, right? So I took that advice and I looked at it and I really, worked on my speeches. At the time, I was a trainer at 9 rounds, a boxing trainer at 9 rounds, and I would be practicing my speeches with members and all that kind of stuff. And then I remember towards the end of my Toastmasters time, and it's not that I wanted to leave, it's just COVID happened and everything went virtual. And when it goes virtual, it kind of defeats the purpose of public speaking. So I remember giving one of my later speeches. I remember giving one of my later speeches, and the guy who was the president of at the time, I remember he wrote down a really, really great evaluation. He showed me a little bit talked about where he wrote down some of the weaknesses. Excuse me, got a lot of gas today. All right, so he told me a little bit about some of the weaknesses, and at the time I remember it's because I wasn't dressed properly and I didn't have a professional look to me. I was wearing shorts and all that kind of stuff. But then the strengths were the strengths, and I'll never forget the strengths that he told me. He goes, he seemed very comfortable while he was up there. The comfort level was up there. And I remember that speech specifically because I remember not giving the best. I didn't think my ending wasn't that great. However, the fact that I was so comfortable up there made it so no one actually noticed that I missed a word and I didn't say this right, didn't say that right, and all that kind of stuff. And then over time, when I went and hired Dre as a coach, shout out to Dre Baldwin, when I hired him as a coach, and he, I was telling him I wanted to be a speaker and I wanted to as a thought leader and all that. He goes, I don't see you on camera enough. And that's when these Move Swiftly thoughts started. And this has been a whole 2-year plus journey. I'm well over 1,000 daily Move Swiftly thoughts. About to start up a brand new regular live stream where, again, the more practice and the more practice and the more practice that you can give yourself, and this is regardless of the views, regardless of the likes, the only thing that you need to be concerned about is getting in touch with your avatar, your ideal person that you want in your world. Focus on that person and then continue to practice and get your reps in, all right? Because when that happens, again, when your audience does get built and when you really nail down on your target, you're not going to have time to go back and say, okay, now I got to go develop as a public speaker so I can see. No, it has to happen before you start to really tap in and establish who your audience is and speak to your audience every day and build these massive platforms that you see a lot of these great influencers doing. That's how you get comfortable, all right? You have to make sure you're constantly practicing and you are seeking feedback whenever the opportunity presents itself, all right? All that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, it's makeyourmove.com. That's makeymove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.